It's the 50th week of the year here at the Tirconaill Tribune. John Mackett here with Eamon McFadden and Declan Kerr, and it's our second last paper of the year, and we're looking forward to a wee break after next week's. In the meantime, we're looking at a lot of things that's going on off the news headlines, and we're looking at the Omicron and the potential of the health authorities imposing more new restrictions in the coming days, perhaps in the coming week. We're running close to Christmas now. What's your feeling on that?
Well, the indications today seem to be that maybe as soon as Friday, there's efforts meeting tomorrow, and Leo Varadkar's talking today. He seems to be flagging that there will be some more restrictions. So we have to take it that there will be. What they're exactly going to be is another thing. So I suppose it appears that's been flagged up, and we're certainly going to expect to see something.
Do you think it'll be in the realms of kind of very direct, or kind of more advisory in the terms of maybe going back to bubbles and things like that, and limiting house numbers and that type of thing?
These things, that seems to be talking about household restricting the number of...
Yeah, the household parties last Christmas seemed to be a real rave, a very big success, despite all the restrictions. I mean, how do you flipping well impose restrictions on households? Who's going to come out and police them?
It's not
going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
You talk about bubbles, only 3 families should be together for Christmas.
The only bubbles if you think of it this year is the pop and the cork and
pop and whatever they have to get their hands on.
Yeah.
But from a commercial point of view, I can't see many more restrictions. I suppose the hospitality sector is still running.
Yeah.
Far too many things are cancelled actually because of the restrictions, and because of the ever-present threat of COVID.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to get COVID a week before Christmas time, or indeed a week after it. But the reality is that we're not quite certain at all whether or not the country is dealing with the Omicron, or will you feel that it's okay as we now stand, because people are just different than what they were last Christmas time. They've endured another year in lockdown, and they've been much more cautious from what I can see.
Yeah. Well, they're expecting Omicron now to become the dominant variant again. Is it as of next week, perhaps even? So it's going to come. That's just going to be as simple as that. What that means though in terms of...
Well, I mean, the infection numbers are quite high anyway. Apart with Omicron to become the dominant. But I mean, even compared to this time last year, like I'm hearing people, lots of people have COVID or getting it.
Certainly heard of a lot more that have it now than this time last year, for sure.
Yeah. So.
But I mean, the other big thing is, of course, a large sector of society now has 2 vaccinations. A lot of people, probably around 1 million, have had their booster dose.
Yeah.
So we should be in a position of much more safety and security. Doesn't mean to say that we might not get it, because we saw Professor Luke O'Neill getting it the other day there, and he's fine. He's been talking to the media. He has just some sniffles and a bit of a dry cough. But ominously, we see a death reported in the UK.
Yeah, but I suppose they are accelerating or trying to accelerate the vaccine rollout. I suppose, but it's in a short space of time. But
you're going to be hampered by holiday and all that now.
But I suppose they're putting a push on. And
that sounds so good. They're putting a push on. The public was putting a huge push on around UCD and the vaccination centres in Dublin and Cork and all the big towns last Saturday and Sunday, and we saw where they were going. People at UCD being turned away, some of them for the second time, because they were fit to evaluate how many people they were going to vaccinate in the 4 hours. Vaccination centre in the midst of a pandemic only open for 4 hours. That does not add up at all. Obviously, they would have scaled back very strongly at the numbers of staff in the vaccination centres, and it seemed to me it's just a staffing problem. When you see a centre only open for 4 hours and hundreds, maybe thousands of people queuing, and they were fit to estimate, 4 hours for 160, it's about 600 people or thereabouts.
Yeah. There seemed to be...
To count down the queue that far, and just to tell the rest of the people to go home, come back another day.
Yeah, there seemed to be huge disparity between different venues for for vaccinations.
Yeah.
For example, I know myself in Navan, where my brother lives, huge. You just couldn't get near it. Castlebrenny down the road, no problem. There actually people coming from farther away down to as far as Castlebrenny.
So you can sure they get seen. Yeah.
So
Letterkenny apparently has been very good. They've been very busy. They have no problems.
No, Letterkenny is going well. Yeah, it is.
Past on Saturday morning, it seemed busy enough.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
But I mean, who do you blame for that? For those kind of log jams?
Logistics has, it's compared to the the rollout of the first vaccine and the second
Which
vaccine. I know now it's a lot of it is walk. Well, some of it's walk-on, it's a mix between walk-on and.
Did they wind down the
appointments.
vaccination centres and the staffing levels there much too quickly,
Yeah.
or was it taken as a given, as I fear and believe, that once you got 2 vaccinations, that was the gold star to safety?
Mm.
And it became apparent then late in the summer that just might not be the case, because there was a breakthrough into the vaccinated population. Not a huge percentage, but worrying enough. When you think that it has taken until the last 2 weeks to get around to the whole issue of getting the numbers in staffing levels have kind of speeded up again to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I don't know what this weekend is going to be, but it was well worthy of a decent editorial that I wrote this week. So please read that. I'd just love to get your feedback on it. Eamon, we're going to turn to the paper and the launch of a new book on
Yep.
Colmkill's 1500.
Yes.
And by no lesser a figure on Colmkill than Dr. Joseph Kelly in Falcara.
Yeah, Joe, well-known historian now, published author many times at this stage now, so no better man. And that's Colmkill's Footsteps in Cloughaneely, and the launch of that took place at the Lochkalton Hotel, Hostel Lochkalton. And that's a 200-page book, which is highlighting that sort of rich tradition that Colmkill had with association in the Cloughaneely area, and there's a real depth of knowledge in that there that would ancient and very kind of sacred knowledge, I suppose. It was officially launched by Father Sean Gallagher, and it attracted a good turnout there as well. And it was also Bishop Alan McGuckian came along to that, and he wrote a letter of introduction to the book, and he really sort of speaks about the significance of Colmkill and the faith and
There's
traditions.
been an awful lot of stuff in relation to Colmkill.
That's the 1500
Yeah,
years now,
1500 years,
just
yeah.
passed through. Suppose now is the time to kind of for this generation to do their thing. It'll be the next thing. It'll be.
Do you feel that there's big interest in Colmkill, like somebody of your vintage now, and still in your 40s and hale and hearty?
Yeah,
Do you have much of a memory of knowing or learning about Colmkill at school or stuff like that?
in many ways, you'd probably have.
Was he in your prayers and your thoughts when you're doing exams and
Well,
all
he
that?
still is
I
regularly.
would say that, all right, for fuck's sakes.
He still is, but it's more like growing up. It was like a mythology, but this kind of stuff is a bit more sort of authoritative, in a documentary sense of what they know about him and all this type of stuff. So, the way his journeys are tracked from Iona and all the footprints he had all over. Although, when you think back on where all the various places he's connected strongly with, you think he travelled some distances in his time 1500 years ago. How he got around, I don't know, but
Well, on foot, presumably.
on
because,
foot or on a horse and arse and cart or whatever. But
horse and cart would have been.
but there's been
part of it.
a lot of detail.
We founded many monasteries and all that. I mean, if he was alive today,
It was linked to
in
Tour Island and all these
yeah,
places.
he was linked
as
to all
well.
those places. Would he be regarded as an entrepreneur, or would he be a learned man with high degrees in theology and all of that, or would you believe a word of what you read?
I think as maybe as the 1500 years have passed, there's certainly a license to grow the mythology of it. But who knows? There could be someone of that stature among us today, and are people given? I don't think you get the credit for it at the time of your existence, but these things grow and these stories
It
are
always
told.
amazes me how all that is so richly recorded in minute detail, I suppose, as a sort of a lukewarm Christian, maybe I would question those kind of things a fair degree,
Well,
But there's no harm in doing that.
how much of it was contemporaneous at the time? That's the question.
Yeah.
That'd be like us taking our notes now at a journalistic event. It's if you're there and you take a detailed note of the there and then, and you can verify it, that's fair enough. If you leave it a couple of 100 years, does the story swell? Does whatever? So
many Colmkill wells all over the place. We have numbers of them in this whole Milford area there. And probably most parishes across the county have them.
I would everywhere. Like I mean, and as you say, the monasteries and all of that, and there's even even like some of the supposed personal effects of his, like cups and this type of thing, have been preserved and all of that now. I suppose it's just that 1500 years. That's a major milestone.
It is, yeah.
And there's a huge effort put into it this year. I mean, the amount
but they've been working on it for a very long time,
Yeah, absolutely. The build-up, like we've been hearing about it for the last few years in terms of...
But there's a lot of good publications, like Joe Kelly's book.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to move on, Derek, or Declan, fairly quickly.
Yeah.
You're going to talk to us about the life and times of Derek Wilkinson. At Finn Harps.
Derek was a director on the committee at Finn Harps since 1978. 41 years. That came to an end on Sunday evening at the AGM. He was just unsuccessful in retaining his seat on the board. So I was speaking to him on Tuesday night. He's obviously disappointed, but he has very fond memories of all those years. Some great memories. Derek was a man that gave a lot to the club, selflessly. Used to drive some of the players from Dublin. He was based in Dublin for a long time himself. The likes of Colin McGonigal, John Jared McGettigan were regular fellow travellers with him from Dublin to Balbafay on a Sunday morning, back on Sunday night again. And he was just...
But after all that time, there's been big changes in those 43 years in football. Have there been... I mean, is the League of Ireland... Is it more important now than it was then, or has it declined?
Well, the League of Ireland's really only important if you're in the Premier Division. If you're in the Premier Division, and in the last 5 out of the last 6 years, Finn Harps have been there. So, So listen, there were a lot of low times in First Division for Finn Harps. I suppose it has been a bit brighter in the last 5 or 6 years, but a great legacy, and Derek he has no regrets, and he's looking forward. He has many great friends, and he's been meeting some of them over the last few days and talking about old times and yesteryear.
I do, and as you say, he put in some serious miles for that club over the years,
and a true gentleman.
I know well, and he's a lovely fella, and major contribution. I'm sure he'll be watching on.
So you can read that in the Tribune as well. You can read this one here from James Woods, a lovely piece. The twinning of 2 town lands. Tell us about that, Damon. James Woods had that exclusively for the Tribune.
Yes,
it's lovely. It's a lovely thing. It's a lovely idea.
Well, have you heard of this before? People twinning town lands. That's a new one on me, and I think that's a really nice thing to have done.
I don't know whether we sort of attribute that to James Woods or to Joe Mangan or to who, but it's a lovely story.
Joining the townlands of Lower Keeldrum and Ardbeg, fun with the completion of a new bridge. It was put in place, a nice little concrete bridge joining the two. There's Joe Mangan, named after him, Joe Mangan, opened on the 12th of the 12th, 2021. And there's Joe himself.
It's a very traditional and Gaeltacht area, and I think that's a part of the that kind of community interaction there is just really great. It's what we need to see. It's what we need to see in rural Ireland,
Literally joining the places, joining together, communities joining together. They could have taken over a 6-kilometre journey to circumvent around, and that's it now. Thanks to Joe's intuitiveness, it is as James says now. Thanks to Joe's intuitiveness, it is a short stroll of no more than a minute or two. So that's the way it's.
That will make a difference.
That'll make a huge difference there too. But that's it. I see somebody here, Michael Coyle, somebody paying their toll as they cross the bridge here now. I don't know whether that was just for the. Surely that
wasn't a set-up.
No council officials about.
Not that I can see. Again,
did they need planning permission or that kind of thing, or was it just a private enterprise?
That's another day in the bog, I'd say.
Anyway, listen up to this. Ear to the ground this Thursday evening is in Ramelton to visit the farm of Billy McMahon at Brehe, who took a whole new course of life a couple of years ago, and there's a man called Chris Digimas from down near Doe now has taken over there in a deal or agreement brokered by the Land Mobility Service. And all his life, probably for 36, 37 years, Billy McMahon milked the cows, ran the farm, very successful farmer. But he felt at 50 there's something more to life, because both the son and daughter are in good jobs in Northern Ireland and won't be coming back to the farm. And he joined the men on the move up at Rye Community Centre. They started to run, to get fit, to train, could do with, as he said last night to me, he could have done with losing a bit of weight. He lost a fair bit of weight because he's been cycling around Ireland, he's been cycling around Scotland.
Yeah.
And he just says that the Land Mobility Service is just a great example of how young farmers, now Chris did not have any land, but he had an interest in farming. And he's now running that farm. He has it probably on a long-term lease, whilst Billy and his wife Anne continue to get an income from it. So Chris has now 300 cows. And as I say, Billy spent his life getting up at 6 in the morning to go down to the sheds, to the milking parlours, to get all that organised. He still gets up at 6 o'clock now, but he goes out running, he goes out cycling. So it's a whole new, different way of life, and it's one that he recommends very highly. So that is on at 7 o'clock this Thursday evening. Watch it, because it's something that is well worth doing. I've been asked to remind you there was a very successful tractor run from Milford to the boardwalk in Carragart last Sunday. The tractors this time were all decked out in the most beautiful array of Christmas lights, fairy lights, all kinds of lights, and 140 tractors. And this has been featuring all this week on the Joe Duffy Show as if it was a rare phenomenon across the countryside. It's been here in Donegal for tractor runs have been
several of
20 years or 2 decades.
Yeah. And they've been very prevalent recently here.
And on our front page this week we're just featuring another tractor run. This is the Gooch family. There was a tractor run, and there was a cheque presented to Noah Gooch for 10,740. He's pictured there with his dad Lee, and this was organised by Noel Russell from Churchill. And he has expressed thanks. Those 200 tractors participated in that particular one. So well done there, man. We'll move on. We want to go to a house sale in Ramelton that went a long way above the reserve. Tell us about that.
Yeah, 92,000 euros over the reserve price, which was 120,000. It's a 2-bedroom detached house on the New Mills Road in Ramelton, and it sold at auction for 212,000. So there's some interest in housing when you see when that house, the reserve price was 120 and it ended up at 212.
By the looks of it, it'll not need a mica test, will it?
Well, I don't think so.
Do we have any idea what vintage it is?
I'm not sure if it doesn't give us that detail there, John. Now, so I wouldn't be too sure in relation to that. But it's 96. It took 96 bids, and it was the person who put on the first bid that ended up buying it. Right,
we'll go on to our final story. It's the lead story on the front of the paper. Farming costs going through the roof. And we're talking to Brent McLaughlin, the chair of the Donegal IFA. And he's saying that prices have gone through the roof to the extent that the price of milk come next spring, come Easter time, could the production cost of milk could rise by as much as 5 cents a litre. He's giving us some detail there, that how fertiliser prices, some of them have gone up over 1,000 to 1,000 euro. Up by 580 from this time last year, and of course the cost of fuel and electricity. Farms are very sure on all of those things, but the price of feeds have gone through the roof entirely. And we're looking there and taking a good look at the average cost of a litre of petrol at the pumps at 172. The tax take on that is 97 cents. And then as far as diesel fuel is concerned, the pump is but 162 roughly. The tax take on that is 77.7. It means that the government has taken almost 52% off diesel. That's before other costs are associated with it there. Yeah. So, as Brendan says, as the country's farmers are facing the highest ever increases in fertilisers, feeds and fuel, this has now become the biggest ever challenge to face the industry in Ireland. And he's wondering, where is Charlie McConnell, the Minister for Agriculture, and what does he plan to do about it? Because there's a new derogation probably coming in from the 1st of January that's possibly going to cut the price, or going to cut the amount of fertiliser that you won't allow to spread That is a proposal that could cut it by 10%. There's no great news on the farming scene, but anyway, for this week we're going to leave it at that. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.